bullshit. This, you gotta have the bad to know the good, or I gotta be strong, I gotta win this thing by assimilating to something which is pissing everybody off every fucking generation. They do not like it. There are deliberate attempts to metabolize that, have you burn it off by the time you're, that's what you do in college. You go to your fucking liberal college and you protest as women whenever the guy you didn't want to get elected gets elected, because the whole thing was a media storm. It was something everybody was paying attention to instead of the species, and that was just a way for you to have something to say. There are a couple things we've heard mention of which would seem, in my opinion, to be cause for concern. Certainly where women are concerned, the abortion thing is amongst that. But one of you kids said, if the president takes away abortions, then you can't fucking allow that to happen. You don't do that. Now, I'm not that is where voting and stuff would come to be, and you need to work on this thing so that you can talk. I see you guys got your little gig running too. A lot of you are not aloof to the idea that this country is probably not necessarily the most offensive in terms of putting babies right into malaria and shit like that. But you kids are still, you're playing a little ambiguous, and I understand you got friends right around you who are pregnant and stuff, and it's not that they are a bad thing. It's just from 1,000 years looking at this thing, you can't be talking about this fucking community bullshit whenever you have not assessed the goddamn nipple. But you're so caught because everybody's loaded into it, and so if somebody starts getting too heavy on that, this person and this person who have babies think that it's all about them. And they know there's a good holding out here that says, you better shut the fuck up about that, we don't do that, Well, it turns into a big fucking feud. And it's kind of the last thing you fucking need. However, also kids, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily unmolested at this point in terms of its retention. The retention of a social conflict where more and more problems have become fixed. You should be pretty fucking chill by now. But instead, a lot of you are getting put on fucking pills. And you're still tasked with just as much need to acquire can-do units, oftentimes at created jobs, something which was made for you, which are creating a strain on the environment that we all know is fucking shit up, and whether it is or it isn't, you're going to get charged like it was your fucking fault. It was your great-grandparents' fault, but we got to hold you to it. So this is another big thing laying over the species that makes it so that you're not a fucking individual. And an individual is kind of a played term at this point, but what I'm saying, kids, is I guess it's kind of easier for me to feel fucking pissed off about this without wanting to be God or anything, because I can't say that I wouldn't have the sort of fantasy in high school of being maybe a star, or I can remember sort of projecting myself into a future which had nice stuff, little fish aquarium tables, and I had cool car, cool stereo, girls liked me, and there was a party, and I probably was hosting, and we had lots of fun stuff to do. But in terms of wanting to be, that was a fairly passing thing. It's certainly not what I'm looking for now. And so, where I stand up and get real pissed off and defensive of the individual in this situation, it's not about stamping out the fucking community or whatever, which is what a lot of people lump it into. Either because they can't do anything about it and they just don't want to fucking think about it, or because they are more prone to want to play God and really not just have their independence, around all these people. Because they're fucking, they have to, somebody's got to submit, right? No. The whole fucking thing we're talking about, kids, here is that if, obviously it didn't come together this way, so we're not chastising the mammal too much, except to get people's attention. But at this point, you know how you drive at night sometimes instead of during the day? And it's an entirely different traversal period. For example, so just like we said with those hot rods that never got up to speed, those dashboards all through the 80s and 90s before they were digital, it said 140 miles an hour. Up to a point where you're getting parts from any of the local retailers or whatever